She took her daughter to her sports tryout and saw her billionaire CEO father introducing another child as his only child. Security, remove this woman immediately. She's clearly mentally unstable. That's what Victoria Ashford said to me. In front of my daughter. In front of 200 parents. In front of 15 news cameras. But here's what she didn't expect me to say back. Before your security touches me, Mrs. Ashford, you might want to ask your husband why your son and my daughter have the exact same birthmark. The one shaped like a crescent moon, right behind the left ear, the same birthmark your husband has, the same one his father has. The same one that's been in Ashford family portraits for 4 generations. The color drained from Richard's face so fast, I thought he might collapse right there on that perfectly manicured soccer field. Victoria's hand froze in midair, her signal to security suspended. And my 8-year-old daughter tugged on my sleeve and whispered the words that shattered 8 years of carefully constructed lies. "Mommy, why does that man look exactly like me?" That moment, that single moment changed everything. Not just for me, not just for my daughter Sophia, but for one of the wealthiest families in America. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me take you back to the beginning. Back to a time when I still believed in fairy tales and forever. Back before I learned that some men don't just break your heart. They try to erase your entire existence. Before we dive into this story, I need you to do something for me. If you've ever been betrayed by someone who was supposed to protect you, drop a comment below. Just one word. Betrayed. If you've ever had to be both mother and father to your child, type warrior in the comments. And if you believe that truth has a way of surfacing no matter how deep someone tries to bury it, hit that like button right now. For those of you new to Mr. Wellington Story Hour, welcome to a place where we don't just tell stories. We explore the complicated, messy, and sometimes painful truth about what it means to love, to lose, and to find the strength to keep going. If that sounds like something you need in your life, consider subscribing and hitting that notification bell. Now, let me tell you about the morning that started like any other but ended up destroying a billion-dollar empire. The alarm on my phone buzzed at 5:15 in the morning, same as every other day. I reached over to silence it, my body already moving on autopilot before my mind fully caught up. That's what 8 years of single motherhood does to you. It programs you, turns you into a machine that runs on coffee, determination, and the kind of love that doesn't need sleep. I slipped out of bed carefully, avoiding the squeaky floorboard near the closet. Sophia was still sleeping in her room across the hall, and she needed every minute of rest she could get. Today was the big day, the day she'd been talking about for 3 months straight. The tryouts. Not just any tryouts, the tryouts. The Ashford Athletic Academy's elite youth soccer program, the one that had produced 6 Olympic athletes and countless college scholarship recipients. The one that every parent in the state would sell their soul to get their kid into. The one funded by the family that had tried to erase my daughter from existence. I pushed that thought down as I started the coffee maker. I'd gotten good at that over the years, pushing things down, compartmentalizing, surviving. Our apartment wasn't much, 700 square feet of second floor living in a building that had seen better decades. The radiator clanked in winter. The air conditioning wheezed in summer. The neighbors upstairs had a dog that apparently never learned the concept of quiet hours, but the walls were covered with Sophia's artwork. The refrigerator was plastered with her report cards and soccer certificates, and every square inch of that cramped space held more love than most mansions could ever contain. I was halfway through my first cup of coffee when I heard the familiar padding of small feet. "Mama, I can't sleep anymore." I turned to see Sophia standing in the doorway, her dark hair a wild mess around her face, her eyes already bright with nervous excitement. She was wearing her favorite pajamas, the ones with soccer balls all over them. Her good luck pajamas, she called them. "Baby, it's not even 6 yet. Tryouts aren't until 10. "I know." She climbed onto the kitchen stool across from me, her legs swinging. "But my stomach has butterflies. Big ones, like the kind you see at the zoo." I reached across and brushed a strand of hair from her face. God. She looked so much like him. The same deep brown eyes, the same determined set to her jaw, the same way her left eyebrow quirked up when she was thinking hard about something. 8 years, and it still caught me off guard sometimes. This miniature reminder of the man who'd promised me forever and delivered abandonment instead. You know what I do when I have butterflies? I asked her. What? I tell them they're not butterflies anymore. They're dragons. And dragons don't make you nervous. Dragons give you power. Sophia's face scrunched up the way it always did when she was considering something seriously. Dragons. Okay, I can do dragons. You can do anything, mija. You're the strongest person I know. Stronger than Abuela. I laughed. My mother, Carmen, was a force of nature. Survived immigration, survived poverty, survived a husband who left, survived raising 2 daughters alone while working 3 jobs. Strong didn't begin to cover it. Almost as strong as Abuela? Give it a few years. Sophia grinned, and for a moment, the butterflies, dragons, seemed to settle. Can I have pancakes? It's a tryout day. You can have whatever you want. 45 minutes later, the apartment smelled like butter and maple syrup, and Sophia was demolishing her third pancake with the enthusiasm of someone who'd been starving for weeks, rather than someone who'd had dinner 8 hours ago. Slow down, baby. Those pancakes aren't going anywhere. I need energy, Mama. Coach Rodriguez says carbs are fuel. Coach Rodriguez is right, but fuel doesn't help if you choke on it. She slowed down. Marginally. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Mija, I lit a candle for Sophia this morning at church. She's going to show them all. Those rich people won't know what hit them. I smiled and texted back a heart emoji. My mother had her own complicated feelings about where these tryouts were being held. She knew more than she let on. She always did. Mama, Sophia's voice had gone serious. The tone she used when a big question was coming. Yes, baby? Do you think my dad would be proud of me if he knew about today? The pancake I'd been chewing turned to cement in my throat. This question. It came up every few months in different forms, at different times. Each time it felt like a fresh wound. Your father, I started, then stopped. What was I supposed to say? Your father paid $50,000 to pretend you don't exist? Your father chose money and status over you before you even took your first breath? Your father is going to be at those tryouts today with his legitimate family, and I'm terrified of what happens when you see him. Your father would be incredibly proud of you, I finally said. Anyone who knows you would be proud of you. It wasn't a lie, not exactly. Even Richard, with his cold heart and colder choices, would have to feel something seeing Sophia play. She was extraordinary. Anyone could see that. I wish I could meet him someday, Sophia said quietly, returning to her pancake. Just to know what he looks like. You're about to, I thought, and I have no idea how to protect you from it. Finish your breakfast, I said instead. We need to leave in 2 hours, and you still need to shower and braid your hair. French braids? Whatever braids you want. She brightened immediately, the heavy questions forgotten in the promise of elaborate hairstyling. The resilience of children. The way they could hold grief and joy in the same moment without breaking. I wasn't sure I'd ever learned that skill. The Ashford Athletic Complex rose from the suburban landscape like a monument to excess. Glass and steel and perfectly positioned architecture designed to intimidate anyone who didn't arrive in a car worth more than my annual salary. I pulled my 12-year-old Honda Civic into the parking lot between a Mercedes SUV and a Tesla that probably cost more than my apartment building. Whoa! Sophia breathed from the back seat. Mama, look at this place. I see it, baby. It's like a spaceship. Or a palace. A spaceship palace. That was one way to describe it. I had other words I kept to myself. The banner stretched across the entrance made my stomach clench. Ashford Family Foundation, building tomorrow's champions. Tomorrow's champions. As long as those champions came from the right families, the right tax brackets, the right social circles, what were we doing here? But then I looked in the rearview mirror at Sophia, her face pressed against the window, her eyes shining with pure, uncomplicated excitement. She didn't know this place was named after the family that had rejected her. She didn't know that her father's money had built these fields, this building, this entire empire of athletic excellence. All she knew was that she loved soccer, and this was where the best came to prove themselves. How could I take that away from her? Ready? I asked, forcing brightness into my voice. Ready. We got out of the car and I immediately felt underdressed. I'd worn my nicest jeans and a blouse I usually saved for job interviews. Around us, other parents were decked out in designer athleisure wear that probably cost more than my monthly grocery budget. The mothers had perfect blowouts. The fathers had that casual, wealthy confidence that came from never having to worry about an electricity bill. And then there were their kids. Matching designer soccer gear. Brand new cleats that gleamed in the morning sun. Custom team jackets with their names embroidered on the back. Sophia had her cleats from the secondhand sports store. Good quality, barely worn when I found them, but secondhand nonetheless. Her jersey was from her rec league team. Nothing matched, nothing gleamed. But when she smiled, none of that mattered. Come on, Mama, let's find where I need to check in. She grabbed my hand and pulled me toward the registration tables, oblivious to the glances we were getting. The polite smiles that didn't quite reach the eyes. The subtle once-overs that assessed our worth and found us wanting. Let them look, I thought. My daughter is going to outplay every single one of their kids. The registration process was efficient if impersonal. Sign these waivers. Confirm this information. Take this number. Report to Field 3 by 9:45. Martinez? The woman at the table repeated our name like she was testing it for impurities. Is that spelled Martinez? I kept my voice pleasant, professional. The voice I used with difficult patients at the hospital. Just like it sounds. Right, of course. She handed Sophia her number. 47. Good luck out there. We found a spot on the bleachers at Field 3, surrounded by parents who immediately resumed conversations that clearly didn't include us. That was fine. I wasn't here to make friends. I was here to watch my daughter show them what she was made of. Mama, look. Sophia pointed toward the far end of the field. There's a lot of cameras and stuff over there. Is someone famous here? I looked, and my heart stopped. A crowd was gathering near the VIP section. News cameras, photographers, that particular energy that surrounded celebrity. And at the center of it all, a face I'd spent 8 years trying to forget. Richard Ashford III. He looked different than I remembered. Older, obviously. Gray threaded through his dark hair now, lines around his eyes that hadn't been there before, but still handsome, still possessing that easy confidence that came from never hearing the word no. He was wearing a casual polo shirt and khakis, the Billionaire's version of dressing down. His arm was around a woman I recognized from magazine covers. Victoria Ashford, née Wellington. His wife. The woman who'd already been his fiancée when he was telling me he loved me. And between them, holding both their hands, was a boy. 7, maybe 8 years old. Dark hair like his father's. Wearing a miniature version of Richard's polo shirt. Ethan Ashford, the legitimate heir. Mama? Sophia tugged my arm. Mama, you're squeezing my hand really hard. I forced myself to relax my grip. Sorry, baby, I'm sorry. Are you okay? You look like you saw a ghost. A ghost? Yes, that was exactly what Richard Ashford was. The ghost of my past. The specter that had haunted every Father's Day, every school form requesting paternal information, every moment Sophia asked about the man who helped create her. I'm fine, I lied. Just nervous for you, that's all. Remember what you said about dragons, Mama. You need dragons too. I almost laughed, almost cried, settled for pulling her into a hug. You're right. Dragons. I've got this. We've both got this. The tryout started, and for a while, I could almost forget that Richard was there. Almost forget the cameras and the VIP section and the woman who'd gotten everything I'd been promised. Because Sophia was magnificent. From the moment she stepped onto that field, something shifted. The nervous energy that had kept her up since before dawn transformed into focused determination. Her feet found the ball like they were magnetized, her awareness of the field, the other players, the goal. It was like watching someone speak a language they were born knowing. The coaches noticed. I could see them making notes, exchanging glances when Sophia executed a particularly impressive play. One of them actually stopped writing to just watch when she nutmegged a defender who was a full head taller than her. "That's my daughter," I whispered to no one in particular. "That's my girl." Around me, other parents were starting to notice too. The polite indifference had shifted to something else: assessment, concern. Their precious children were being outplayed by a girl in second-hand cleats. Good. The first round of tryouts ended, and the coaches called for a water break. Sophia jogged over to the bleachers, her face flushed with exertion and joy. "Did you see that, Mama? Did you see the goal I almost made? Coach Marcus said my footwork was exceptional." "Exceptional. That's like better than good, right?" "That's much better than good, baby. You were incredible out there." "There's going to be more rounds. They're eliminating people after each one. Do you think I'll make it to the next round?" "I think you'll make it to every round." Her smile could have powered the entire complex. "I'm going to get some water from the fountain. Be right back." She bounced off, all energy and enthusiasm, and I watched her go with a heart so full it ached. That's when I heard the commotion near the VIP section. The cameras were clustering around Richard now. A reporter with a microphone was positioned in front of him, and Victoria was arranging Ethan in that picture-perfect way that suggested she'd done this 1,000 times. I should have stayed on the bleachers, should have kept my distance, should have remembered that I'd signed an NDA that getting close to the Ashfords could destroy everything. But something pulled me forward. Gravity, maybe, or fate, or just 8 years of compressed fury that had finally found an outlet. I moved closer, telling myself I just wanted to hear what was being said. Just wanted to see the man who'd discarded me up close, to confirm that he was real, that those years hadn't been some fever dream. The reporter was mid-question as I approached. "Mr. Ashford, the Foundation's youth development program has produced remarkable talent over the years. What's it like to have your own son participating in the legacy you've built?" Richard's smile was practiced perfection. "Having Ethan here today is a dream come true. He's my only child, my sole heir, and everything I've built with this foundation has been with his future in mind." My only child. The words hit me like a physical blow. My sole heir. The breath left my lungs in a rush. Everything I've built. 8 years. 8 years of struggling to pay for soccer registration fees while he built empires and called his son his only child. I must have made a sound. A gasp, maybe, or something else. Because Victoria's head turned in my direction. Our eyes met. Hers were ice blue, calculating, assessing the threat level in a millisecond. Her gaze swept over my off-brand clothes, my unfashionable hair, my obvious lack of belonging. She dismissed me in the time it took to blink. But I wasn't looking at her anymore. I was looking at Richard, who had continued his interview, blissfully unaware that the woman he'd erased was standing 15 feet away. "The Ashford name means something in this community," he was saying, "and Ethan will carry that name into the next generation. It's about legacy. It's about family. It's about building something that lasts." "Mama!" Sophia's voice cut through the crowd. I turned to see her running toward me, her water bottle clutched in her hand, her face still bright from the tryouts. "Mama, I couldn't find the water fountain, so a nice lady showed me where it was, and then I saw you over here, and what are you looking at?" "Is that the famous person everyone was talking about?" She reached my side, and I watched her gaze travel to the VIP section, to Richard, to Ethan, to the reporters and cameras capturing the Ashford family in all their photogenic glory. "Mama!" Sophia's voice had changed, gone quiet and strange. "Mama, that boy looks like me." The world narrowed to a point. Just me and Sophia and the horrible truth that was about to crash into our lives. "What do you mean, baby?" "His face. Look at his face. He's got the same..." She trailed off, her 8-year-old mind working through something it couldn't quite name. Then her gaze shifted to Richard. Really looked at him for the first time. "Mama." The word came out as barely a whisper. "Mama, why does that man look exactly like me?" I couldn't speak, couldn't move. 8 years of lies and secrets and carefully constructed walls, and it was all crumbling because my daughter had her father's eyes and his son did too. I I started. But Sophia wasn't listening anymore. She was staring at Richard with an intensity that made my blood run cold. And then, before I could stop her, she stepped forward. "Excuse me." Her voice carried, clear and strong and impossible to ignore. Several heads turned. A camera swung in our direction. "Excuse me, mister." Richard turned, his professional smile still in place, ready to greet what he probably assumed was a young fan. The smile froze when he saw me. For 1 second, one fraction of a heartbeat, I saw recognition flash across his face. Then something else. Fear, maybe, or calculation, or both. "Can I help you?" His voice was controlled, giving nothing away. But Sophia wasn't asking me or looking at me. She was looking at him, at Richard, at the father she'd never known, whose face she'd never seen, whose existence had been hidden from her since before she was born. "You look like me," she said simply. "Why do you look like me?" The silence that followed was deafening. Victoria's expression sharpened from dismissal to alarm. The reporter sensed something newsworthy unfolding. The cameras kept rolling. And Richard Ashford III, CEO of Ashford Enterprises, philanthropist, family man, pillar of the community, stood frozen in front of an 8-year-old girl who had just asked him the one question he'd spent millions of dollars trying to ensure would never be asked. "I'm sorry." His voice was strained now. "I don't know what you're talking about. I've never seen you before. But your eyes." Sophia wouldn't let it go. She'd always been stubborn. Got it from me. Got it from him too, though I'd never told her that. "Your eyes are exactly like mine. My friend Maya has her daddy's eyes. She told me that's how you know. Is that how I know?" "Sophia." I finally found my voice. "Sophia, come back here." "No, Mama. Look at him. Really look. Don't you see it?" I saw it. God help me. I'd always seen it. "This is inappropriate." Victoria had stepped forward now, positioning herself between Richard and us. "I don't know who you are, but you need to leave. Now. We have every right to be here." My voice came out stronger than I felt. "My daughter is trying out for the youth program. We registered. We paid the fee. We belong here as much as anyone." "Clearly, you don't." Victoria's smile was a weapon. "Security." 2 men in polo shirts with earpieces started moving toward us. "Sophia, come on." I reached for my daughter's hand. "Let's go." "But Mama." "Now, Sophia, please." The desperation in my voice must have reached her. She took my hand, but she didn't stop looking at Richard. "I know you," she said to him. "I don't know how, but I know you." Richard said nothing, just stood there, pale and frozen, while his wife directed security to escort us away. The walk back to the bleachers felt like it took hours. Every step, I felt eyes on us. Whispers starting up behind us. The cameras catching everything. "Mama, who was that man? Why wouldn't he answer me?" I couldn't answer her. Not here, not now, not in front of everyone who was watching, waiting to see what the crazy woman and her daughter would do next. "We'll talk about it at home, baby, I promise." But the tryouts are over for today. But I didn't get eliminated. Coach Marcus said, "Sophia." I knelt down, taking both her hands in mine. "I promise you, we will come back. We will figure this out. But right now we need to leave. Please, trust me." She looked at me. Really looked, seeing something in my face that made her questions stop. "Okay, Mama, I trust you." We gathered our things, started walking toward the parking lot. And then Victoria Ashford's voice rang out across the field. "Security, remove this woman immediately. She's clearly mentally unstable." I should have kept walking. Should have gotten Sophia in the car and driven away and dealt with the fallout in private. But something inside me snapped. 8 years of silence. 8 years of watching Sophia ask about her father and not being able to tell her the truth. 8 years of struggling while the man who abandoned us built empires and posed for magazine covers with his perfect family. I turned around. "Before your security touches me, Mrs. Ashford, you might want to ask your husband why your son and my daughter have the exact same birthmark, the one shaped like a crescent moon." right behind the left ear. The same birthmark your husband has. The same one his father has. The same one that's been in Ashford family portraits for 4 generations. The words hit their target with surgical precision. Richard's face went gray. Victoria's commanding gesture faltered. And the cameras. The cameras captured all of it. That's a lie, Victoria said, but her voice had lost its certainty. Richard, tell them that's a lie. Richard said nothing. Show them, Sophia. I was operating on pure instincts now, 8 years of maternal fury finally unleashed. Show them your birthmark. Sophia, confused but trusting, turned and lifted her hair. And there it was. The crescent moon. The Ashford mark. The genetic signature that no amount of money could erase. Oh my God. Someone in the crowd. A gasp of recognition. Is that really? Another voice. A reporter's voice, eager and hungry. This is absurd. Victoria was trying to regain control. A birthmark proves nothing. Security? Then let's talk about the NDA, I said. The one I signed 8 years ago when your husband's lawyers threatened to destroy my family if I didn't take $50,000 and disappear. The one that paid me to pretend my daughter didn't exist so your precious family legacy could remain untainted. Chaos erupted. Reporters shouting questions, parents recording on their phones, Victoria screaming for security. Richard still frozen, looking at Sophia like he was seeing a ghost. And Sophia, my brave, confused, beautiful daughter, looking up at me with eyes exactly like her father's. Mama, she whispered, is that man my daddy? I couldn't lie to her anymore. I couldn't protect her from this anymore. Yes, baby, that's your father. She was quiet for a long moment. Processing. Her gaze moved from me to Richard and back again. He doesn't look very nice, she finally said. Despite everything, despite the chaos and the cameras and the 8 years of pain that had led to this moment. I laughed. No, baby. He's not very nice at all. Then I don't want him. She squeezed my hand tighter. Can we go home now? Yes, let's go home. We walked to the car, leaving the Ashford circus behind us. But even as I buckled Sophia in and started the engine, I knew this wasn't over. It was just beginning. The drive home was quiet. Sophia stared out the window, her earlier excitement replaced by something heavy and contemplative. I kept glancing at her in the rearview mirror, trying to gauge what she was feeling, what she was thinking. I'm not in trouble, am I? She finally asked when we were halfway home. What? No, baby, of course not. Why would you think that? Because everything went crazy. And you looked really scared. And I asked that man questions I probably shouldn't have asked. I pulled the car over. Right there on the side of the road. Turned around in my seat so I could look at her properly. Listen to me, Sophia. You did nothing wrong. Nothing. You asked honest questions because you saw something that didn't make sense. That's not wrong. That's brave. Then why are you crying? I hadn't realized I was. I wiped my cheeks quickly. Because I'm sad, baby. Sad that I couldn't tell you the truth sooner. Sad that you had to find out this way. Sad that I couldn't protect you from getting hurt. I'm not hurt. Sophia's voice was matter of fact. I mean, I'm confused and kind of mad, but not hurt. Why would I be hurt about someone I don't even know? The wisdom of children. The incredible, brutal, healing wisdom of children. You're right, I said. You're absolutely right. Can we still get ice cream? You said if I did good at tryouts, we could get ice cream. And I did do good at tryouts, before everything got weird. I laughed again. Watery and broken, but real. Yes, baby, we can definitely get ice cream. We went to the little shop 3 blocks from our apartment. The one owned by Mrs. Patterson, who'd been serving our neighborhood for 30 years and knew everyone's favorite flavor by heart. Well, look who it is, Mrs. Patterson beamed when we walked in. The superstar herself. How are the tryouts? Sophia glanced at me, uncertain how much to share. They were eventful, I said. Sophia was amazing. We'll find out about next rounds later. I knew it. Double scoop for this one. On the house. Mrs. Patterson, you don't have to… Hush. I've been watching this girl grow up since she could barely see over the counter. I get to celebrate her victories. 2 scoops. Chocolate and strawberry, if I remember right. Sophia's smile was the first genuine one since we'd left the athletic complex. You remembered. While Sophia attacked her ice cream with enthusiasm that suggested she'd inherited more than just looks from her father, I checked my phone. 17 missed calls, 23 text messages, 4 voicemails. 3 of the calls were from numbers I didn't recognize. The others were from my mother, my best friend Rosa, and a number that was definitely connected to a law firm based on the generic caller ID. I ignored all of them and texted my mother. Sophia knows, we'll explain later. We're okay. Getting ice cream. Her response was immediate. Come here after. I'll make dinner. We need to talk, Mika. There was something in that message, a weight I couldn't quite identify. But that was a problem for later. Right now, I needed to be present for my daughter. Mama? Sophia had chocolate ice cream on her nose. Yes, baby? That man. The man at the field. He has a lot of money, doesn't he? I nodded. Like, a lot? Yes. A lot. She considered this, taking another bite of her ice cream. So he could have helped us, with stuff, if he wanted to. The question was a knife, sharp and clean and designed to leave a wound. Yes, he could have. But he didn't. No, he didn't. More ice cream, more contemplation. Then, I think that says a lot about him. That's what you always tell me, right? That people show you who they are by what they do, not what they say. When had my child become wise? When had this happened? That's exactly right, baby. So he showed us he's not a good person. And that's sad, I guess. But it's not our fault. We're good people. We show that all the time. I reached across the table and took her sticky, ice cream-covered hand. When did you get so smart? I've always been smart, she grinned, showing chocolate-stained teeth. You just don't always notice because you're tired from working so much. The truth in that statement hit harder than she intended. I was always tired, always working. 16-hour shifts at the hospital, then coming home to make dinner and help with homework and try to be enough. Try to be both parents in one body. I'm sorry I'm tired so much, I said. It's okay, Mama. I know you're tired because you love me. That's the best reason to be tired. This child. This incredible, resilient, wise beyond her years child. I didn't deserve her. But I would spend every day for the rest of my life trying to. We finished our ice cream and drove to my mother's house, the small bungalow she'd lived in for 30 years, where I'd grown up, where Sophia had taken her first steps in the backyard. My mother was waiting on the porch. She opened her arms and Sophia ran into them without hesitation. Abuela, Mama and I had the craziest day. I heard, mi corazón. I heard. My mother's eyes met mine over Sophia's head. The look in them was complicated, knowing, maybe even guilty. Why don't you go inside and wash up? I made your favorite, enchiladas. Yes, Sophia bounded into the house, the resilience of youth in full effect. My mother and I stood on the porch, the evening settling around us. How bad is it? I asked. There's video everywhere. One of the parents posted it before they even left the parking lot. It's been shared thousands of times. I closed my eyes. Of course it had. The Ashfords are going to destroy me. Maybe? My mother's voice was strange, careful. Or maybe they can't, not anymore. What do you mean? Come inside, Mika. There's something I need to tell you. Something I should have told you a long time ago. The kitchen smelled like home, cumin and chili, and the particular warmth that only existed in the places where we'd been loved unconditionally. Sophia was already at the table, chattering to the cat that had wandered in looking for scraps. My mother poured me a glass of wine without asking if I wanted one. Drink, she said. You're going to need it. I drank. She sat across from me, her weathered hands folded on the table, her expression carrying the weight of old secrets. When you first told me about Richard, she began, about what he'd done, about the NDA and the threats and the money, I was angry. Angrier than I'd been in a long time. But I wasn't surprised. What do you mean? I mean, I knew about the Ashfords, about what they were. I knew because... She took a breath. Because the same thing happened to me. The world tilted. What? Your father. The man you grew up believing abandoned us. He didn't abandon us, Mija. He was paid to disappear. Just like they tried to pay you to disappear. Just like they've been doing to women for 3 generations. I don't understand. What does my father have to do with the Ashfords? My mother's hands tightened around her coffee cup. Your father worked for them, for Richard Sr. He was a driver. Nothing special, just a job that paid the bills. But he saw things, heard things. The Ashfords weren't careful around the help. I felt like I was falling, like the floor had opened up beneath me. What did he see? Affairs, financial fraud, bribes to politicians, enough secrets to bring down the whole empire if he ever talked. She paused. And he was going to talk. He'd met with a reporter, set up a meeting to tell everything he knew. What happened? The Ashfords found out. They came to him with a choice. Take $200,000, sign the papers, disappear forever. Or watch his family suffer. They would fire me from the housekeeping job I had, make sure no one else would hire me, report my immigration status, make our lives hell until there was nothing left. So he took the money. He took the money. And he left. And I let you believe he abandoned us because I was too ashamed to tell you the truth. Too ashamed to admit that I'd spent 25 years hating a man who sacrificed everything to protect us. I couldn't process this. Couldn't fit it into the narrative I'd built my entire life around. My father the deadbeat. My father the coward. My father who didn't love us enough to stay. He's still alive? The question came out strangled. I don't know. The NDA prevents him from contacting us. Prevents us from looking for him. Just like yours prevents you from telling Sophia the truth about Richard. She reached across the table, taking my hands. But here's what I do know. You didn't violate your NDA, Mija. Sophia asked questions. Sophia saw the truth. And now that it's public, the Ashfords' leverage is gone. They can still sue me, destroy me financially, take everything. They can try. But I've spent the last 8 years preparing for this moment, just in case. She stood, walking to the cabinet above the refrigerator. The one that had always been too high for me to reach as a child. She retrieved a folder thick with papers and set it on the table. What is this? Insurance. Every piece of evidence your father gathered before he left. Every secret the Ashfords have tried to bury for 3 generations. Names, dates, amounts, proof. I've kept it hidden all these years because I was afraid. Afraid they'd find out. Afraid they'd follow through on their threats. I opened the folder. My hands were shaking. But they threatened my granddaughter today. My mother's voice had turned to steel. They tried to have my granddaughter removed by security, and that is something I will not forgive. Something I will not let stand. The documents were damning. Financial records showing systematic bribery. Photographs of Richard Sr. with politicians who'd conveniently passed Ashford-friendly legislation. Medical records from women who'd been paid to terminate pregnancies. NDA after NDA after NDA, a paper trail of human lives discarded for the sake of the Ashford name. Mama, I breathed. This could destroy them. Yes, I know. She sat back down, her expression fierce. The question is, Mija, what do you want to do with it? I thought about Richard's face at the athletic complex. The fear when he recognized me. The calculation when he decided to deny knowing us. The silence when his daughter asked why he looked like her. I thought about Victoria's cruelty, her casual dismissal, the way she'd called me mentally unstable in front of my child. I thought about Sophia, who had shown more grace and wisdom in one afternoon than the entire Ashford family had shown in generations. I thought about my father, who I'd hated for 25 years for a choice he'd made to protect us. I don't want revenge, I finally said. Revenge doesn't fix anything. It doesn't give Sophia her father. It doesn't give me back the years I spent struggling. It doesn't undo what they did to Dad. Then what do you want? I looked at the folder, at the decades of secrets and lies and human wreckage contained within it. I want the truth, not just for us, for all of them. Every woman they paid off, every child they erased, Every person who signed their silence away because they were too scared or too desperate to fight back. I met my mother's eyes. I want to make sure they can never do this to anyone else. My mother smiled. It was the smile of a woman who had been waiting 25 years for this moment. Then let's make some calls. That night, after Sophia was asleep in my childhood bedroom, surrounded by the trophies and ribbons of my own forgotten youth, I sat on my mother's porch and watched the stars. My phone had been buzzing constantly. I'd turned it off. Tomorrow, I would deal with the chaos. Tomorrow, I would call lawyers and maybe reporters. Tomorrow, I would start the process of dismantling a family that had spent generations destroying others. But tonight, I needed quiet. Needed to process the earthquake that had restructured everything I thought I knew about my past, present, and future. Footsteps on the porch. My mother, holding 2 cups of tea. Can't sleep either. Haven't been able to sleep properly in 25 years. She handed me a cup and settled into the chair beside me. Do you hate me for keeping the truth about your father? I considered the question seriously, turned it over in my mind like a stone. I understand why you did it. You were protecting us, protecting him, protecting everyone in the only way you knew how. That doesn't answer my question. No, I said finally. I don't hate you. I'm sad. I'm angry at the people who put you in that position, but I don't hate you. She let out a breath she seemed to have been holding for decades. He loved you so much, your father. The day he left, he stood right here on this porch and cried like I'd never seen a man cry. Said leaving you was going to kill him, but staying would kill all of us. I felt tears sliding down my cheeks. Didn't bother wiping them away. Do you think we'll ever find him? I don't know, Mija. But for the first time in 25 years, I have hope that we might. We sat in silence, mother and daughter, watching the stars wheel overhead. Tomorrow would bring battles. Tomorrow would bring chaos and lawyers and the full fury of a threatened empire. But tonight, for the first time in as long as I could remember, I felt something I hadn't felt since before Richard Ashford walked into my life and burned it to the ground. I felt hope. The sun was barely up when my phone started ringing again. I'd turned it back on around 5 in the morning, knowing I couldn't hide from reality forever. The first call was from a number I didn't recognize. I let it go to voicemail. The second call was from the same number. Voicemail again. The third call was from a different number, also unfamiliar. Then a text came through from my best friend Rosa. Elena. Turn on the news. Channel 7, now. I found my mother already in the living room, the television on, her face pale. The banner across the bottom of the screen read, Ashford heir denies secret love child. Video goes viral. And there we were. Sophia and me. Captured on someone's phone. The confrontation. The revelation about the birthmark. Richard's frozen face. Victoria's fury. The news anchor was speaking in that carefully neutral tone they use for scandals. The video, which has been viewed over 2 million times since being posted yesterday afternoon, appears to show a woman confronting billionaire CEO Richard Ashford III at his family's athletic complex, claiming that her 8-year-old daughter is his biological child. The woman, identified as Elena Martinez, a nurse at Seattle General Hospital, can be heard referencing a non-disclosure agreement and a distinctive birthmark shared by both children. They cut to a soundbite. My voice, thin and desperate through the phone's speaker. Show them your birthmark, Sophia. Show them. And then Sophia, turning around. The crescent moon. Clear as day. The Ashford family has not yet released an official statement, the anchor continued, but sources close to the family say they are considering legal action against Martinez for defamation and breach of contract. I turned off the television. My mother was looking at me. How are you feeling? Like I'm about to walk into a storm? You don't have to walk alone. You know that, right? I did know. I had my mother. I had Rosa. I had years of community relationships built through my work at the hospital. I had the folder of evidence sitting on the kitchen table. And I had Sophia, who at that moment appeared in the doorway, still in her pajamas, her hair a mess. Mama? Why is our picture on television? Oh God, I hadn't thought about this. Hadn't considered that the video wouldn't just be something adults discussed in hushed tones. It was everywhere, which meant Sophia would see it, which meant her classmates would see it, which meant, come here, baby. I held out my arms. She climbed into my lap, too big for it now, but not caring. Are people mad at us? Some people might be, but not because we did anything wrong. Sometimes when you tell the truth, people who wanted the truth to stay hidden get upset. Like when Jaden Miller cheated on the spelling test and I told Ms. Robinson. Exactly like that. Jaden was mad because his secret got told. But was it wrong to tell? No, Sophia said firmly. Cheating is bad, and secrets that hurt people are bad. That's right, and the secret about your father. It was hurting people. It was hurting you because you didn't know. And it was hurting other people too. People we didn't even know about. Other people? I thought about the folder, about the other women, the other children, the other lives disposed of like trash. I'll tell you more when you're older, but yes, other people. She was quiet for a moment. Then, is the man on TV going to try to take me away from you? I heard Abuela talking on the phone. She said something about custody. The fear in her voice broke my heart. No one is going to take you away from me. No one, I promise you that. But he's rich. And on TV they always say rich people can do whatever they want. I cupped her face in my hands, looking directly into her eyes. Her father's eyes, but also her own. Listen to me, Sophia. There is nothing in this world. No amount of money, no amount of power, nothing that could ever make me let you go. You are my daughter, my heart, my everything. And anyone who tries to take you from me will have to go through me first. And me, my mother added from across the room. And your Tia Rosa, and everyone at the hospital who loves your mother. And probably Mrs. Patterson from the ice cream shop. Mrs. Patterson? Sophia giggled despite herself. You've never seen her angry, my mother said seriously. Trust me, you don't want to. The tension broke. Sophia laughed. I laughed. My mother smiled. And somewhere across the city, Richard Ashford was probably consulting with his lawyers, strategizing how to make this problem disappear. He had no idea what was coming. Later that morning, I finally listened to my voicemails. The first was from a reporter, asking for an interview. Delete. The second was from another reporter. Delete. The third was from a law office. Ms. Martinez, this is Jessica Huang from Chen & Associates. We'd like to offer our services regarding your situation with the Ashford family. Please call us back at your earliest convenience. I saved that one. The fourth was from a number I recognized. The Ashford family's legal team. The same number that had called to deliver threats 8 years ago. Ms. Martinez, this is Harold Blackwell from Blackwell Sterling & Associates, representing the Ashford family. You are in direct violation of your non-disclosure agreement dated 8 years ago. Our clients are prepared to pursue legal action for damages in excess of $5 million. However, they are willing to discuss a resolution if you contact our offices within 24 hours. Consider this your only warning. I played it again. $5 million. More money than I'd make in 100 lifetimes. I played it a third time, listening not to the words but to the tone. And I heard something underneath the legal threats. Fear. They were afraid. Good. I called Jessica Huang. Ms. Martinez, thank you for returning my call. Her voice was professional but warm. I'm a partner at Chen & Associates. We specialize in family law, particularly cases involving power imbalances between parties. How did you hear about my situation? I'd be lying if I said I wasn't on social media at 2 in the morning. But I'd also be lying if I said the Ashford family wasn't already on my radar. There have been rumors for years. You're the first person to actually go public. I didn't go public. Not intentionally. My daughter asked questions and the truth came out. I understand. That's actually better from a legal standpoint. You didn't seek publicity. You didn't make accusations to the press. You simply responded to a situation that was forced upon you. Their lawyers are threatening to sue for $5 million. Of course they are. That's their playbook. Threatened so aggressively that people back down before anything goes to court. She paused. But here's the thing, Ms. Martinez. NDAs signed under duress are not enforceable. And based on what I've seen in the video and what I've read about the Ashford family's history, I'm willing to bet yours was signed under significant duress. It was like someone had opened a window in a room that had been sealed for 8 years. They threatened my family, threatened to report my mother's immigration status, to destroy my nursing career before it even started. I was 24 years old and pregnant and terrified. That's textbook coercion. Add in the fact that they misrepresented the terms of the agreement and failed to provide adequate compensation for what they were asking you to give up, and we have a very strong case for having the NDA voided entirely. And the lawsuit they're threatening? Let them sue. I'd welcome it, actually. Discovery in a defamation case would require them to open their records, and something tells me they really don't want their records opened. I thought about the folder on my mother's kitchen table. What if I told you I had evidence of a pattern of this behavior, not just with me, going back decades? Silence on the other end. Then, Ms. Martinez, I think we should meet in person. The meeting was set for that afternoon. My mother insisted on coming with me, leaving Sophia with Rosa, and strict instructions to keep the television off and phones away from little ears. Chen and Associates was located in a modest office building downtown. Nothing like the gleaming towers that housed the Ashford legal team. But the moment I walked in, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Safe. Jessica Huang was younger than I expected. Maybe 35. Sharp eyes behind stylish glasses. A handshake that meant business. Thank you for coming in. She led us to a conference room. Before we start, I should tell you that my brother Marcus founded this firm specifically to take on cases like yours. Cases where ordinary people are being crushed by systems designed to protect the wealthy. Where is your brother? A shadow crossed her face. He passed away 2 years ago. Cancer. But I've continued his mission. It's what he would have wanted. I'm sorry for your loss. Thank you. Now. She pulled out a legal pad. Tell me everything. So I did. I told her about meeting Richard at the diner, about falling in love with someone who wasn't who he claimed to be, about the pregnancy and the revelation and the NDA signed in desperation. I told her about raising Sophia alone, about the years of struggling, about the endless questions I couldn't answer. I told her about the tryouts, about Sophia's question, about Victoria's cruelty and Richard's cowardice. And then my mother opened the folder. Jessica Huang's eyes went wide, then wider. Where did you get this? My mother told her. About my father. About the choice he'd been forced to make. About 25 years of hidden evidence waiting for the right moment. When we finished, Jessica sat back in her chair. Her legal pad was covered in notes. Do you understand what you have here? She asked quietly. Evidence that could destroy the Ashfords. Evidence that could destroy the Ashfords, yes. But also evidence that could help a lot of people. Every woman named in these documents. Every child who grew up not knowing where they came from. Every life that was derailed by Ashford money and Ashford intimidation. She leaned forward. This isn't just your story, Ms. Martinez. This is the story of dozens of people who were silenced. And you have the power to give them their voices back. What do I need to do? First, we void your NDA. The evidence in this folder makes that almost guaranteed. Second, we file countersuits for harassment and intentional infliction of emotional distress. Third, she paused. Third, we contact every person named in these documents and offer them the chance to come forward, together, as a united front. And the press? Eventually, yes, but on our terms, our timeline, our narrative. She smiled. It was the smile of someone who had been waiting for an opportunity exactly like this. The Ashfords have spent generations controlling the story. It's time someone else held the pen. My mother reached over and squeezed my hand. What do you think, mija? I thought about Sophia, about the life I wanted for her, about the world I wanted her to grow up in. A world where rich men couldn't erase their children. A world where desperate women weren't forced to sell their silence. A world where truth mattered more than money. I think, I said slowly, that it's time for the Ashfords to learn what happens when they pick a fight with the wrong woman. Jessica Huang grinned. Then let's get to work. The next few weeks were a blur of legal documents, phone calls, and careful strategy. Jessica and her team worked through the evidence in my mother's folder, verifying what they could, building a case that grew stronger by the day. 3 other women came forward within the first week, then 5 more, then 7. Each had a similar story: young, vulnerable, targeted by an Ashford man, paid to disappear when they became inconvenient. Some had signed NDAs. Some had simply been threatened into silence. All of them had spent years believing they were alone in their shame. They weren't alone anymore. Meanwhile, the public tide was turning. The initial video had painted me as the aggressor, a crazy woman disrupting a children's athletic event. But as more information came out, as more women shared their stories, as the pattern became undeniable, the narrative shifted. Richard Ashford wasn't a victim of a deranged stalker. He was a predator with a paper trail. The Ashfords tried damage control, a carefully worded statement about private family matters and respecting the legal process. An interview where Victoria cried photogenic tears and spoke about protecting her son from baseless accusations. But the accusations weren't baseless, and more people came forward every day. Through it all, Sophia remained my priority. We kept her away from screens and headlines as much as possible. But she was 8, not stupid, and she knew something big was happening. "Mama?" She found me one evening in the kitchen, eating cereal straight from the box. "Are we winning?" "Winning what, baby?" "The fight. Against the bad man." "Are we winning?" I pulled her onto my lap. "I think we're doing something even better than winning. I think we're making sure no one else has to fight this fight after us." "Like superheroes?" "Like superheroes." She nodded, satisfied with this explanation. "Good. I want to be a superhero." "You already are, baby. You already are." The turning point came 6 weeks after the soccer tryout. Jessica called me at 7 in the morning. "Can you come to the office? Now?" I was there in 20 minutes. She was waiting for me with coffee and an expression I couldn't read. Somewhere between excited and nervous. "What is it?" "Richard Ashford wants to meet with you. Privately." I felt my stomach drop. No lawyers? No witnesses? He's specifically requested that. Just you and him. Apparently, there are things he wants to say that he doesn't want on any record. Every instinct screamed trap. Danger. Don't do it. But there was another voice, too. Quieter. More curious. What could he possibly want to say? "I'll do it," I heard myself saying, "but I'm wearing a wire." "Already handled." Jessica slid a small device across the table. "He requested no recordings, but what he doesn't know won't hurt him." I looked at the device. Looked at Jessica. Looked at the pile of evidence we'd accumulated against a family that thought they were untouchable. Set up the meeting. The meeting was scheduled for the following evening at a neutral location. A private room at a restaurant neither of us frequented. The kind of place where discretion was part of the service. I arrived 15 minutes early. Jessica's device was hidden in my bra. My heart was pounding so hard I was sure the wire would pick it up. Richard arrived exactly on time. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept in weeks, like the pressure was crushing him from the inside out. "Good. Elena." He said my name like it cost him something. "Thank you for agreeing to meet." "I didn't agree for your sake. I agreed because I want to hear what you have to say." He nodded, sitting across from me. The table between us might as well have been an ocean. "I've been thinking," he said slowly, "about that night at the diner, when we first met. Do you remember what you said to me?" "I said a lot of things." "You said that money was just paper with dead people's faces on it. That what mattered was what you did with your life, not what you had in your bank account." He laughed bitterly. "I thought you were naive. Thought you'd learn eventually how the world really worked." "I did learn. You taught me." He flinched. "I know, and I'm sorry." I stared at him. "You're sorry?" "I know that doesn't mean anything. I know words don't fix what I did. But I need you to know that I've spent 8 years regretting that decision. 8 years knowing that I had a daughter out there somewhere. A daughter I was too weak to claim. You weren't weak, Richard. You were calculating. There's a difference. Maybe. Maybe you're right. He ran a hand through his graying hair. My mother convinced me that keeping you quiet was the only way to protect the family. She said you'd use the baby to extort us. Said women like you always did. Women like me? Poor, desperate, looking for a way up. The words came out flat, recited. I know now that she was wrong, that she was projecting her own fears onto you. But at the time, I believed her. I wanted to believe her because believing her was easier than facing what I'd done. And Victoria? Did you believe your mother when she chose your wife too? He was quiet for a long moment. Victoria was always part of the plan. We were engaged before I even met you. But when I met you, he shook his head. You weren't part of the plan. You were the opposite of the plan. And I fell in love with you anyway. That's not love, Richard. That's infatuation. Love doesn't disappear when it becomes inconvenient. I know. His voice cracked. I know that now. I let the silence stretch. Let him sit in the discomfort of it. Why did you want to meet me? Because it's over, all of it. The lawyers, the threats, the damage control, Mother's having a breakdown, Victoria's filing for divorce. The board is pushing me out. Everything the Ashford family has spent 3 generations building is crumbling. And you think I should feel sorry for you? No. He met my eyes. I think you should know that you won. Completely. Totally. The family that tried to erase you is destroying itself. And you didn't even have to lift a finger. We did it to ourselves, following the same playbook that worked for decades. It just stopped working when it ran into someone who refused to stay silent. I didn't refuse. Sophia asked questions. I just stopped lying to her. That's exactly what I mean. Something like admiration flickered across his face. You raised her to value truth, even when lies would have been easier, even when silence would have been safer. You raised her to ask questions. And one question from an 8-year-old brought down an empire that survived for 100 years. I didn't know what to say, hadn't expected this. Confession, surrender, whatever it was. What do you want, Richard? Really, why am I here? He reached into his jacket and pulled out an envelope. Slid it across the table. What is this? A trust. For Sophia. $50 million. Accessible when she turns 21. With stipulations that I can never contest custody, never try to take her from you, never interfere in her life unless she explicitly invites me in. I didn't touch the envelope. I don't want your money. I know, but Sophia deserves it. Deserves all of it and more. And this is the only thing I can give her. The only way I know how to make even the smallest part of this right. You think money makes things right? No? His voice was heavy with something that might have been genuine sorrow. I think nothing makes this right. But money can give her opportunities, stability, a future without the kind of struggle you've had to endure. I looked at the envelope. $50 million. More money than I could comprehend. What's the catch? No catch, no conditions, no NDA. The trust is irrevocable and completely in her name. I've already signed everything. My lawyers have the documents. If you want to burn the check and never touch a penny of it, that's your choice. But it's there if she wants it. I thought about Sophia. About secondhand cleats and cramped apartments and the constant arithmetic of poverty. About the opportunities she'd miss, the doors that would stay closed, the extra mountains she'd have to climb. $50 million could change everything. But $50 million had strings, even if they were invisible. Even if Richard promised otherwise. I'll think about it, I finally said. And I'll talk to Sophia when she's old enough to understand. It'll be her choice. Richard nodded. That's more than I deserve. Yes, it is. He stood to leave, then paused. Can I ask you something? You can ask. I might not answer. How do you do it? Raise her alone? Make her into this incredible person she is? Without any of the resources I had, without any of the support? How did you do it? I thought about the question. Thought about 8 years of exhaustion and worry and love so fierce it felt like drowning. I showed up, I said simply. Every single day. Even when it was hard. Especially when it was hard. I showed up. I should have showed up too. Yes, you should have. He left without another word. I sat in that private room for a long time, staring at the envelope he'd left behind. Then I picked it up, put it in my purse, and went home to my daughter. 3 months after the soccer tryout, the Ashford empire officially collapsed. Richard Sr. suffered a stroke during a contentious board meeting and never fully recovered. The company was sold off in pieces. The family name, once synonymous with power and prestige, became shorthand for corruption and cruelty. Victoria's divorce made tabloid headlines. She got the mansion and a settlement, but lost the social standing she'd traded her soul for. Last I heard, she'd moved to Europe, where the scandal was less well known. And Richard? He stepped away from public life entirely. Checked into a facility for treatment. Depression, the rumor said. A complete breakdown of the facade he'd maintained for decades. I didn't feel sorry for him, but I didn't feel triumphant either. Mostly I felt tired and ready for a new chapter. The other women and I formed a support group, an informal network of survivors who understood what it meant to be targeted by wealth and power. Some of them found their children. Some made peace with children they'd lost. All of them found a community that understood their specific kind of pain. My mother hired a private investigator to search for my father. 3 months of dead ends, and then a phone call. He was alive, living in a small town in Montana under a different name, working as a carpenter, still carrying a photograph of my mother and me in his wallet, even after all these years. The reunion was complicated, tearful, full of apologies and explanations and 25 years of lost time. But it was also healing, for all of us. He met Sophia and cried. She has your fire, he told me, and your mother's stubbornness. God help anyone who gets in her way. Sophia, for her part, accepted her long-lost grandfather with the same equanimity she'd shown through this entire ordeal. I have a lot of family I didn't know about, she observed. That's kind of cool. She still hasn't decided if she wants a relationship with Richard. He sends letters which I read before giving to her. They're careful, remorseful, full of stories about her heritage that don't require her forgiveness. She reads them, sometimes responds, mostly doesn't. I'll figure it out when I'm older, she told me. Right now, I already have all the family I need. And the soccer tryouts? She made the team. Not at Ashford Athletic Academy, which shut down 3 months after the scandal broke, but at a local program run by coaches who cared more about developing character than producing champions. She's thriving, and so am I. Some nights, I still lie awake thinking about the what-ifs. What if I'd stayed silent? What if I'd taken the money and disappeared? What if Sophia had never asked her father why he looked like her? But those thoughts don't stay long, because I know now that silence was never really an option. Not for me, not for Sophia, not for any of the women who came before us, whose voices were stolen but never destroyed. Truth has a way of surfacing. It might take years, decades, generations, but it always finds its way to the light. And when it does, no amount of money, no amount of power, no amount of carefully constructed lies can push it back into darkness. That's what I learned from a soccer tryout that changed everything. That's what I want you to remember if you're watching this and hiding your own truth. You don't have to stay silent. You don't have to protect people who hurt you. You don't have to accept the story someone else wrote for your life. You can pick up the pen. You can write your own ending. And if an 8-year-old girl can bring down a billion-dollar empire with a single honest question, imagine what you could do if you found the courage to tell your truth. Now, I want to hear from you. What truth have you been hiding? What silence have you been protecting? Drop it in the comments. You don't have to use your real name. You don't have to give details. Just let it out. And if this story moved you, if it reminded you of your own strength, hit that like button. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Subscribe to Mr. Wellington Story Hour for more stories that remind us what we're made of. Because your story matters. Your truth matters. And no matter how hard they try to silence you, your voice will always be louder than their lies. Until next time, This is Mr. Wellington saying, stay brave, stay kind, and never stop telling your story.